Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 11 of the 2025 NFL season. Just kind of a quick video this week. One, because it's been a busy weekend trying to get a lot of stuff done, and also because I'm trying to get my ducks in a row for the Packer-Viking game next week, which hopefully will have a fun intro again for the first time in a while. And if Corey and I can get our schedules aligned, hopefully the official, unofficial co-host of the show will join us to talk about the Packers. Those episodes always do better than any of my other videos. So as I've said before, it's got to be Corey, and he should really start his own YouTube channel because apparently he is what the people want, not this. So, but that's next week. That's next week's problem. This week, the Vikings are hosting the Bears, their first division game at home. They are actually 2-0 in the division after beating the Bears in week 1 and the Lions a couple weeks ago. It doesn't feel like they're undefeated in the division because there's just so much other negativity around the team, but they are, and hopefully they can keep that streak going today, keep their season alive. But first, the beer. This week I am drinking the cranberry goes from Third Space Brewing. I don't know, you guys tell me. Cranberry goes. It is a winter sour, which sounds interesting. It is a kettle sour that uses Wisconsin's native fruit to create a nice tartness and a beautiful color balanced by a touch of salt. 4.5% alcohol by volume. They're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and then they had this nice little blurb. You have your home, you have your work, but everyone needs a third space. We brew quality, handcrafted beer for you to enjoy in yours. So, winter sour ale. Cranberry with a touch of salt. Skull, feel it there. The salt is an interesting touch. It's so I've gotten my order mixed up here, but there was the rare candy fruit sour for the Halloween game, or Halloween week. That was pretty rich, pretty fruity, pretty heavy. Then we had, I forget what it was last week. That was a fruit. Oh yeah, the gluten-free one from Hinterland. That was very light and fruity. This feels somewhere in between. I hate to say it, but the mouthfeel is a little smoother than that gluten-free beer, but the flavor isn't quite as heavy as the rare candy one. It tastes more like a beer in the sense that like probably cranberry's a little more bitter and the salt adds a little bit of I don't know how to put it. It just reminds me more of a beer, of a Busch Light. Not a Busch Light. Not heavy enough for that, or too heavy for a Busch Light. Anyway, that's really interesting. I've had salt in beer, the whole poor man's bloody and all that, but I never thought of it in a sour. It really pairs well. That's different. I like it though. All right, I'm gonna put this down. Because as beautiful as it is outside, it is a little chilly. Okay, so today's game. I've seen a lot of people saying that like this is the season for the Vikings. If you get a win today, there's hope. We stay in the chase in the NFC North, which I think the Bears and the Lions are tied at 6-3. The Packers are at 5-4-1, and the Vikings are at 4-5, 4-4. I don't remember, but something like that. The Vikings are last. Another division win keeps you in the chase, both from like an overall record and also fighting for division dominance. But it's a concern. The Bears are winning a bunch of games. However, they've been against, I don't think any against winning teams. And their defense is pretty porous. They're getting beat up a lot. So the question this week to me is, does the Vikings kind of sputtering offense finally get something going against a pretty porous, soft defense? I think the Vikings defense, well, I guess I have to talk a little bit about last week's game against the Ravens. That was a bad game. That was a very bad game from the offensive standpoint. They gave the ball away 3 times, almost 4. But despite that, the Vikings defense kept them in the game enough that in the fourth quarter, it was still a game. It shouldn't have been. I think they held the Ravens to 4 field goals to start the game. And, 12 points versus 28 points if they let them all be touchdowns is a huge difference. And it kept that game despite feeling very one-sided from like a talent perspective, it kept it from feeling one-sided from a score perspective. So if and see the Vikings defense is really good sometimes, and then they look abysmal against the Chargers. So everybody has bad games. Hopefully that Vikings defense can show up again, keep the Bears offense from, really rolling too much. And if the Vikings offense could please get something going this week, I have a lot of thoughts on, McCarthy's depth of target and KOC's play calling. I will say I saw lots of videos this week of people breaking down the plays. I mean, the big one that everyone was talking about right after the game was the 3rd and 1 where McCarthy bombed it to Jefferson. Jefferson fell down and it was an interception. I think the logic on it was really sound. KOC was saying, we're in their side of the field. It's 3rd and 1. If it's an incomplete pass, we just go for it on 4th down. And then we have kind of maybe a more safe play called for that. But we had Justin Jefferson one-on-one, deep downfield. We're going to take that shot. And I agree with that logic. And then when you see the replays, McCarthy threw it before Jefferson had fallen down. So he let go of it. Jefferson falls. It's not like it was a bad decision, I don't think. There is a bigger conversation about how many times KOC has called passing plays on 3rd and 1 and how relatively unsuccessful they are compared to the rushing game. And last week, Aaron Jones was averaging like 7 yards of rush or something, and they only ran it like 11 times. So there are some things that I don't understand. Maybe KOC is just trying to make sure that he's encouraging his quarterback to stay aggressive. I'm not sure. I don't hate it. I don't hate having an aggressive offense. It can be fun, but maybe having your rookie quarterback lead the league in depth of target, which is an aggressive stat, isn't great. Maybe we should take some more high percentage completions. I hate screenplays. I hate them. But maybe some screen passes to get something going, to get his targeting figured out, because he is overthrowing people wildly. Everyone except Jalen Nailor. He seems to know how tall Jalen Nailor is. So I digress. I hope the Vikings win today. Last week's Ravens game left a pretty bad taste in my mouth. If they lose this, they are, they drop to 4-6, and that is pretty bleak in a division when you're, in a division with the Lions. I guess I have to say the Bears because they're technically tied for first, but I think they're kind of fraudulent compared to the Lions. And I don't know what to make of the Packers. That's a whole separate fiasco that you guys are dealing with. Yeah, should be a good game. I hope I'm not spending this one grinding my teeth, but we'll see. All right. Thanks for watching. Skull feeleth there. See you next week for the Packer Viking game with Corey. Go Vikings.